The Legislative Budget Committee budgets. And so first we're going to start off with the Legislative Research Department. And so I'll turn it over to Amy Deckard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have a packet in front of you with a green cover, starting with the Legislative Research Department. If you turn to page 2, we'll see that the agency has submitted a revised estimate for fiscal year 2022, totaling $4.8 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $254,000 or 5% below the approved amount. This is attributable to lapsing a portion of the State General Fund reappropriations for fiscal year 2021. The governor does concur with the agency's revised estimate for fiscal year 2022. The agency's request for fiscal year 2023 is $4.7 million, all from the State General Fund, a decrease of $164,000 or 3.4% below the 2022 revised estimate. And the governor does concur with the agency's request for fiscal year 2023. Mr. Chairman, I might note that while not statutorily required, by tradition, the governor passes through the legislative branch agencies without making adjustments in most years. I might note that our analysis is slightly different this year. So if you turn to page 4, you'll notice a more in-depth analysis of fiscal year 2022, including those changes I mentioned in the summary, those reappropriations, and then lapsing a portion of those. Page 5 is a description of the change from actual expenditures from 2021 into fiscal year 2022. And then fiscal year 2023 analysis is on page 6. There is also performance measures noted on page 8 for the Legislative Research Department, the majority of which come from legislator satisfaction survey for the Legislative Research Department. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to go into more depth for legislative research or answer any questions.
We'll just go ahead and see if anybody has any questions. All right, see none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Turning to the Legislature, which should be the next in your packet, again on page 2. The agency submitted a revised estimate totaling $24.3 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $7.8 million, or 24.2% below the approved amount. This is attributable to lapsing a portion of the State General Fund reappropriations for fiscal year 2021. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate for 22. For fiscal year 2023, the agency's requested $23.2 million, all from the State General Fund, a decrease of $1.2 million, or 4.8% below the revised estimate. And the governor does concur with the agency's request for fiscal year 2023. The performance measures for the legislative branch are on page 8. This does include the number of bills introduced and the number of bills submitted to the governor, among other items. I would be happy to answer any questions.
That's kind of a loaded question. Any questions about the legislature?
Yeah.
I have lots of questions about the legislature. Oh, not today.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Legislative Coordinating Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That should be the next in your packet. On page 2, the Legislative Coordinating Council submits a revised estimate totaling $779,000, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $71,000 or 8.4% below the approved amount. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate. For fiscal year 2023, the agency requests $752,000, all from the State General Fund, which is a decrease of $27,000 or 3.5% below the revised estimate, and the governor concurs with the agency's request. The performance measures for this agency are on page 8, including number of interim meeting days authorized and the percent of salary and expenses paid for legislators. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the LCC? All right, Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next in your packet should be the reviser of statutes. On page 2, the reviser submits a revised FY 2022 revised estimate totaling $4.2 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $498,000, or 10.5% below the approved amount. The decrease is attributable to lapsing all the State General Fund reappropriations for fiscal year 2021. The governor does concur with the agency's revised estimate in 22. The agency's request for fiscal year 2023 is $4.1 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $108,000, or 2.6% below the 2022 revised estimate. And the governor concurs with the agency's request for fiscal year 2023. The reviser of statutes performance measures are on page 8, including the percent of meeting legislative deadlines for introductions of bills, as well as committee reports and floor amendments. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Speaker Reichman.
I do. I'm looking at the expenditures for the reviser's budget and contractual services of $771,000. We've heard that there's possibly ability that the reviser wants to lease a plane to be able to go wrestling matches and things like that. So I guess my question, if you know what percentage of that is for the plane, and it will be a plane made in Kansas or China?
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to the reviser to comment on that.
So there's not a lease of a jet or a plane inside your contractual services budget request? Thank you for that clarification. So if it was, it would be made in Kansas. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last agency in the packet is the Legislative Division of Post Audit. On page 2, the agency submits a revised estimate totaling $4.8 million. Oops, I'm sorry. Totaling $3.5 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $171,000, or 4.6% below the approved amount. This is attributable to lapsing a portion of their State General Fund reappropriations for fiscal year 2021. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate in fiscal year 2022. For fiscal year 2023, the agency requests $3.5 million, all from the State General Fund. This is a decrease of $36,000, or 1% below the fiscal year 2022 revised estimate. The governor concurs with the agency's request for fiscal year 2023. The Legislative Division of Post Audit does have performance measures listed on page 8, including the percent of recommendations implemented by auditees and the percent of unique state agencies audited annually. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions in regards to legislative post audit? Seeing none, thank you, Amy. Majority Leader Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we approve all budgets.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Speaker Pro Tem Finch. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. We're done.